Welcome to the Legal Armor podcast, where we dissect the complexities of construction, rent, and housing to ensure you're well informed and protected. My name is Roel Trump, and I'm an attorney based in Curacao and operating in Curacao and Bonaire. The topic that we're going to discuss today is how real estate agents need to conduct themselves if they're in a situation where there is a conflict of interest. When you engage a real estate agent, you enter into an assignment agreement. By doing so, a fiduciary relationship comes into existence. This means that you, as the client, places a certain level of trust, confidence, and reliance in the expertise of the real estate agent. You also trust the real estate agent that he or she will act on your best interest and putting your interest above the interests of others, including themselves. Transparency and loyalty are crucial in this relationship, particularly when it comes to conflict of interests. Now, let's talk about what happens if the real estate agent fails to handle appropriately if there is a conflict of interest. Legally speaking, failing to act in accordance with the laws and contractual rules relating to conflict of interest can result in penalties for the real estate agent. Additionally, the client can also, in certain situations, sue the real estate agent. The consequences for disobeying the laws and contractual rules relating to conflict of interest can range between penalties and liability lawsuits. Another important consequence that a real estate agent can suffer is severe damage to his or her. Another important and crucial consequence that the real estate agent can suffer is severe damage to his or her reputation. What's important to keep in mind in a situation like this is that once the trust is broken, it will be extremely difficult to repair. So, what should you do as a client if you suspect that your real estate agent is not being entirely honest and truthful towards you? The first step is always to communicate directly with the person, expressing your issues, your concerns, and asking him or her to give more elaboration on a certain situation. It's important to do this in writing so you have the proof later on. If you're not entirely satisfied with the answer or reaction given by the real estate agent, then it might be a strong sign that you should terminate the agreement as soon as possible. Unfortunately, not all people are that lucky. Some people, some clients find out after the fact that their real estate agent was not entirely truthful with them. In such an instance, what you can do as a client is sue the real estate agent for wrongdoings. For you as a client, it's important to know that when you're contemplating on suing a real estate agent, there are three things that you should keep in mind. The courts will look at these three things. The first one is whether or not the real estate agent is liable. In other words, did he do something wrong or is he responsible for something wrong that happened? A second element that the court will look at is whether or not this wrongdoing actually caused damages to you as a client. And last but not least, the court would need to determine to what extent the real estate agent is responsible to cover the damages suffered. Now, you might ask yourself why these three elements are important to know. It's very simple, actually, because it is highly possible that the court will determine in a judgment that the real estate agent is guilty of certain wrongdoings, but that these wrongdoings did not have negative consequences for you as a client. And if there are no damages suffered, then the real estate agent is not responsible to cover any damages, and so on and so forth. So, in other words, it's not always as clear as you might think. There are always legal complexities that need to be taken into account. Finally, there's one important thing that I want to talk about, which is something that I see happening more and more on social media platforms. And that is that a victim of malpractice from a real estate agent will go online and start bashing the real estate agent. Sometimes they go as far as calling these people words like crooks, thieves, and con artists. Be aware that if you do these things, you run the risk of the other party filing a defamation lawsuit against you. And if that happens, you will need to go to court and you will need to prove to the judge that you have proof that someone is a thief, a crook, or a con artist. Just because the real estate agent didn't comply with his or her contractual duties does not automatically mean that he or she is a crook, thief, or con artist. With a lack of information and evidence, you run the risk of having to go online on the same social media platforms, sometimes on TV or in newspapers, to apologize and rectify your claims. This can be very embarrassing and bad for your reputation. I want to conclude this episode by reaffirming the importance of transparency in business transactions, especially transparency between the real estate agent and the clients. If you have any additional questions relating to this topic, feel free to book a consultation meeting with us so we can go deeper into your specific situation. If this video has been of value to you, then feel free to like it and share it to others as well. Until next time, have a good one.